Welcome to Gorilla Sports Off Court. I'm your host for today, Liv Moods, and shortly we will be joined by Brandon Krisztal to talk all things Denver Nuggets and the NBA. This is presented by Trusted American Mortgage. Trusted American salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you get into a better interest rate and lower your monthly payments. So head to trustedamerican.com to see how they can help you save some money today.
Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome in, everybody, to another Gorilla Sports Off Court presented by Trusted American Mortgage. I am Liv Moods. That is Brandon Krisztal. And I am dressed like a teddy bear today, but I'm awfully comfortable.
You look warm and
Very
cozy.
warm and cozy. And we are going to talk about...
Wait, we're not going to talk about how I'm dressed?
Well, go Jayhawks. We can talk about how fantastic CB has been playing. Also a Jayhawk.
I don't know if you caught the Jayhawks played the Horned Frogs of Texas Christian last night in Fort Worth.
I would really hope they beat the Horned Frogs. I don't think it's a flex if they did.
No, but they did. I was just like
Kansas just recently had a loss
we
that
had a
was
bunch of stupid losses.
kind of upset. Yeah, like there's been a couple teams to upset them. But
Iowa State, who might win the national championship, beat us, but we lost to Missouri at home and we lost to West Virginia at home where we only scored 20
Mountaineers,
points,
baby.
only 20 points in the first half.
Country roads.
We can't just be, we're just going to claim all our family schools. I mean,
Yeah,
I got family at just
I
about
have
every
literally
school.
been a West Virginia fan since I was born.
I get it.
So,
you
yes.
got grandparents who went there, and what, your brother went there?
My brother did go there.
Yeah, so
We have a family home out there.
yeah.
So yeah, I've got West Virginia ties that run like so deep that I couldn't escape them even if I wanted
Go to
to.
that overrated breakfast place, Tudors. Is that what it's called? I think we were there this summer for a funeral. So.
I don't know. There's a couple holes in the walls
Yeah.
in
they take a lot of pride in it there in West Virginia.
Morgantown.
Really, it's really pretty West Virginia parts of it.
Beautiful. People don't realize West Virginia, especially in the fall, it is stunning. It's
Yeah.
very, very beautiful there,
we
and
were-
very serene and very relaxing. And
We were definitely in like a highly concentrated meth use area. It felt like based on the stores I went in, though. So
yeah,
there was that.
no, it's different
But
for sure.
I was just wearing this, just to remind you in case
I forgot.
In case you
No.
forgot that the Jayhawks beat the
To be
Horned
honest,
Frogs last night.
I didn't even watch my Horned Frogs last
I
night,
believe
so
you.
I'm
That I
pretty
believe.
pretty pathetic in
The
that
court
regard.
actually is wild looking. So it's got all these designs on it. It's kind of purple and gray, the way the Brooklyn Nets looks. But then it has the 3-point line's red because y'all have embraced that red because of the
blood out of the eyes.
blood
Yeah.
out of the eyes.
And
yeah,
the design on the court is actually supposed to represent the scales of the horned frog.
Yeah, so it's cool.
It's cool. Very
It-
cool.
It is cool. In the modern times where kids want to wear crazy uniforms.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool. But what else is cool is how well Christian Brown
Nuggets
has
and
been playing.
CB. I mean, there's a lot right now to be excited about when it comes to this Denver Nuggets team. Obviously, they started off their season pretty slow. There was a lot of concern that I think was a result of just inconsistencies because you were seeing flashes of things that you liked from the Nuggets. But right now, feels like they're clicking, feels like they're finding their rhythm, their groove. I think so much of that you can absolutely give credit to not only Russell Westbrook as an addition, but also the way that the team has adapted to Russell Westbrook's style of play, because it is eerily similar to Jokic. And they kind of help each other out. They have this very strong chemistry that happened very, very quickly between the two of them. And I think that we're now seeing the team kind of feed off of the energy. We saw very early Russell Westbrook and Nikola Jokic finding a lot of synergy between the two of them. But now you're seeing the entire team, I think, start to feed off of that and build off of that. What are your biggest takeaways? I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Nuggets 5-0 since Aaron Gordon's return.
Sort of. Well, so and this is what because I saw some posts about that. They're just skipping over the Houston game because he missed that game.
Right. So with Aaron Gordon, they're 5-0.
5-0 in their last 6 games. Now they are with and without Aaron Gordon 11-14,
right,
and 8-1 in their last 9.
Right.
So
he makes an impact.
They're playing well without him, but certainly playing better with him. And we've got some Aaron Gordon video that we'll get to here in a little bit from the locker room. He is embracing this role. The crazy thing is, it's funny, and I heard somebody else mention this, but the Nuggets rip off all these wins, and they're still firmly in 4th place.
Western Conference is going to be tough.
It's no joke. They're creating some space between the LA teams that are both behind them 3 games. They're on the heels of the Grizzlies. They're a game and a half behind the Grizzlies. They're on the heels of the Rockets. There's 2 games where they're going to see the Rockets a bunch more.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're at full strength, you got to like their chances against Houston. And that was kind of a conversation we had again the other night, is who do you trust in the playoffs to win a championship.
Right.
And it's like, do you trust that the Cavaliers are going to jump over the Celtics, the Knicks healthy? Are the Knicks better than the Cavs in the playoffs because of what Jalen Brunson can do, what Cat can do, and the other pieces? The Bucks have been there before with obviously Chris Middleton and Giannis and Brook Lopez. You throw Dame into it if they're healthy. And I know it's a big if. We're talking about a bunch of guys in their 30s. I mean, I don't know if Giannis is 30, but he's got to be right around it.
Yeah.
Either way, where they haven't been healthy, we know that the Sixers might not even make the playoffs. The Bulls don't have enough pieces. The Heat are a disaster because of the Jimmy Butler thing, even though they're in the play-in. Orlando, I think they're 5 and we were talking to the other BK. I think he posted they're 5 and 15 or something since December or whatever it is, since the start of December. It hasn't been good.
Yeah.
And they're really falling back to the pack. In fact, when they played the Nuggets, they were going into that weekend, they were in 4th place. They're in 8th now. The Hawks, I don't know, Pistons are trending up. Pacers feel limited. So there's only a couple teams in the East. And then in the West, the Thunder, you're going to give the benefit of the doubt, even though they haven't been there.
Right.
The Nuggets have been there. The Suns might be trading Bradley Beal. He's open to waiving his no trade clause. Now, one of the teams that could be interested is the Bucks. I don't know how you make that work. That makes the Bucks even more interesting from a scoring standpoint. And we know Dame Lillard will still have the ball. But after the Nuggets, I guess you got to give the Mavs credit. They were there a year ago, although Lively's now out 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, I have zero faith in the Dallas Mavericks.
So Thunder, Nuggets. Are you ready to put the Grizz or Rockets in the champion? I know playoffs open up and anything can happen. Just ask the Commanders right now in the NFL. But the NBA, it's just different. 7-game series. When you're talking about vets, that's where a team like even the Lakers or the Clippers, you're going to trust a little more if Kawhi's healthy with James Harden and there are other pieces around and superstar Norman Powell.
To be honest with you, I think that OKC, I love watching them play. They're playing a very exciting, full force basketball right now. I could see post All-Star break OKC losing a lot of steam.
Well,
because we see a lot of teams after the All-Star break actually put their foot on the gas. You're slowly starting to see the Nuggets trending in the right direction. And I think when you have a young team like OKC, there is an aspect of down the playoff stretch, experience matters and it does make a difference. And so I could see a world where towards the end of the season, OKC is not comfortably the number 1 seed. They may still be the number 1 seed, but I think there's a lot of teams that have a strategy behind putting their foot on the gas following that All-Star break and really getting things into motion. And we actually heard CB talk about it in his post-game presser, your Jayhawk, that their hope that the Nuggets plan right now is just to make defensive strides all year so that by the time you're at the end of the season and you've got the playoffs, you've got a steady and constant defensive approach. You've got that defensive identity established. And I think right now we're just seeing OKC kind of firing off on all cylinders, which is not bad. It's working for them, of course, but I could see them losing steam as the season progresses.
Yeah, the tempo they play at, and it's nonstop off the bench, and we saw it, really from the get-go with that opening game here in Denver. You're like, wow, it is relentless. No matter who's coming off the bench, they're flying around, they're firing up threes,
which is great.
It's fun to watch. But so it brings me to something, and so I talk to a lot of people, but my friend Tim, who's my main gambling partner, but he's in LA, he's a big Philly fan. The other night he texted me, he's like 52-80. It's like, is that how many points the Nuggets are going to score tonight? He's down on his Sixers. But so we talk about the Nuggets a lot. And he was the one that when you and I were more critical of Jamal Murray, he's like, Jamal Murray will be fine. He was one of the few people who like, wait till the playoffs. He knows what he's doing. It's easy to understand why. And you pair him with Russ, who's the most extreme example. So I think I even borrowed that point or gave Timmy credit. But he and I were talking about Russ in the starting lineup and the way the team looked, because he watched all 48 minutes of the game the other night. And he said the biggest concern he has for the Nuggets and Russell Westbrook in the playoffs, and I guess we'll see because Russ has never been in the playoffs with Joker and with these guys, but he has been in the playoffs with other teams, is that everyone ratchets up the intensity. So from the jump, teams are locked in more. There's not the feeling out, or easing into it like you might.
And the Nuggets are already doing that right now.
I understand that, but it's just, and so you talk about the Thunder, but no matter who you're going to play, Memphis, Houston, right? We can just go down the teams that we listed. Russ's energy is neutralized a little bit because everyone's energy is up and the game slows down. So even though he's going fast, every possession matters,
right?
Especially more. And it was something that I hadn't thought about, But then you realize the only playoff success that Russ has truly had was early in his career with KD and James Harden when they get to the finals and really didn't maybe understand how they even got there. Obviously, 3 Hall of Fame players, but very early. I mean, I think they were in like years 4, 3, and 2 or whatever it was. And so I think that it's a valid potential, I don't call it concern, but point that everybody else will ratchet it up to match Russ, even though Russ isn't always going to be on 100. If most people are at 75 and then they'll jack it up to 90. Well, if Russ is at 100, but everybody else is now between 95 and 100 from the jump, it's going to, I don't want to say neutralize, but I do think it could minimize some of what Russ's impact is with the starters, especially.
And you're bringing up Russ. And again, that exactly feeds into my concern with OKC. You've got all of them, a whole team playing at 100%. So when everybody starts to play at 100, 110, 150% following All-Star break, there may be some appeal lost with OKC. Not saying they're not going to be good. I think what they're doing right now is very impressive, and I think they have a real shot at coming out of the Western Conference this season. But I do think they will look less impressive because right now they're giving it their all, and you respect them for it, and it's working for them. But following the All-Star break, we're going to start seeing every team, every bench guy, every roster start to give a little bit more effort, knowing where they stand in the season and kind of the light starts to be clearer at the end of the tunnel in terms of making that deep playoff push, trying to get that good seed in your conference. So I just think you may lose some of the attractiveness and the fluff and the sparkle that OKC has right now once every other team in the NBA starts playing with that same OKC tempo following the All-Star break. So it's not really a concern, more just an observation that I think that's what we could see, which will make the Western Conference that much more fun. And also as a Nuggets fan, that much more terrifying because everybody is going to be giving 110% effort, hopefully including the Denver Nuggets. But I think the Western Conference is going to be a bloodbath. Who right now, what is your finals matchup look like if you had to pick right this very second? It doesn't have to be based on record, just who you think could make it through all of their playoff series and make it to the finals right now. Who are you picking?
Nuggets and Celtics. I'm saying everybody's healthy.
Love it.
If everybody's healthy, even if the Nuggets don't make a move, if everyone's healthy, that means you're going to get your 14 to 16 minutes you'll need from DeAndre Jordan along the way in the handful of games he'll play. It means Peyton Watson will be playing well enough. It means you'll be getting the contributions you've gotten from Christian Brown of late. It means I think there's a real possibility that Aaron Gordon stays on the bench because he understands more than anybody. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. But what he brings to that second unit when he's being forced to be second team center anyway, a lot of the time, not all the time, but against a team like OKC, although it's maybe a little different because they haven't figured out how to play, when healthy, Chet and Hartenstein together. That's not really worked. So you're against OKC, you might have to see DeAndre Jordan as your second team center more so than you otherwise would. But you want to I'm not saying that there can't be new challengers, obviously, but you want to trust the teams that have done it. And I don't believe in Cleveland enough. I'm
with you.
They're right there with OKC. Donovan Mitchell might be the difference that should make Cleveland easier to trust than say Houston. But either way, and it won't surprise me if OKC comes out of the West. Beyond that, I don't believe in Memphis yet. Let's see him up close. Let's see him in the playoffs. Let's see Ja stay engaged, healthy, out of trouble, because he is kind of reminding us how dynamic he really is.
Yeah. I'm with you,
I'll throw it back at you. Who's your matchup today? And if the Bucks somehow pull off this Bradley Beal trade, depending on what the pieces are for it, apparently it's a 4-team trade, so we'll see what that looks like.
I would go Nuggets Celtics as well.
Yeah, it feels like cheating.
OKC just feels a little unproven at this point. Again, there's so much that has to go right to win a championship. It's not just about having a talented roster. Every roster in the NBA is talented. This is a star-driven league. So that is not enough, in my opinion. There are so many elements that have to work, and I trust any game with Nikola Jokic on the floor. I do. That's the level of trust I have. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, those are two guys in a playoff stretch I absolutely trust. So, and their coach. I think the Celtics' upper hand that they have right now in the Eastern Conference
You're
as
one
a
of the
whole.
few people that believes in Joe Mazzulla.
I do.
Some people think they win in spite of it, especially because
I think they have I absolutely think that coaching is a large part in why the Celtics are so successful.
So many people liked Ime Udoka's coaching. It was obviously the off-court stuff that got him fired there. Clearly, he's figured out how to coach up Houston.
He has.
So Do we know if he and Nia Long stayed together? I haven't followed that.
I'm not
I
sure.
guess we can look that up. Hey, how about while we're looking up Ime Udoka's marital status? We have a couple of pieces of post-game video that we weren't able to get to the other night
Where do you wanna start?
successfully. So we've got Joker talking about a little bit of, because we got in on the tail end about Embiid and bummed that he didn't play again and that he's hurt and isn't playing. We also have AG kind of just talking through all of it.
Yeah,
So,
if you guys were on the post game live with me following the game, we were able to watch head coach Malone as well as CB. We did not get anything else, so we can take a listen.
well,
to
let's start
Jokic
with we'll start with Joker
Cool.
because he's the best player on the planet, and this is us getting in at the tail end of him talking about Embiid and bum that he wasn't there, and then we get into some Nugget stuff as well.
Sorry, guys. Same thing happened the other night when we tried to play that. I'm not sure.
I know the audio is here. I could play it on my computer.
Yeah,
and hold it up
and
as a mic,
our producers the other night said the same thing. They're like, it sounds fine on my
it
end. So
exists.
apologies for that one. Why don't you summarize? You were the one that was there with getting the information. So what was he talking about?
Just that they are coming together as a team. Like he senses that they are understanding how each other plays. And what's funny is because we started, a little while ago talking about Russ, is that clearly Jamal and Russ, and it's not Jamal and Russ, Jamal is now comfortable playing with Russ.
Right.
And understands
I
what
agree.
Russ is about.
You can see it.
Because even though nobody in their right mind thought that Russ was coming in to take Jamal's job,
Right.
that doesn't mean Jamal didn't think like that.
Correct.
And not that he's worried. He signs a $200 million max deal. So he wasn't truly worried that Russ was going to be here. And I guess you could always think, oh, maybe I'm going to get traded. You still get traded with your $200 million deal. So it wasn't that. It was just that Russ comes in, 9-time All-Star, future Hall of Famer, former MVP, even 17 years in, still plays like the Energizer Bunny. None of that is dropping off. And how does that affect my minutes? How does it affect whose team it is? And I imagine just like anyone, and this isn't apples to apples, but you think about, and Shelby Harris was sitting in that chair yesterday, and it made me think about his.
Shout out Shelby, by the way.
His kids are in school here now in the spring after being there in the fall or whatever. I mean, it's winter, but second semester. And the one thing, and I only changed schools. I guess I did a couple of times, but like I moved from Texas to California in 9th grade.
Yeah.
And what integrated me with friends right away was being able to play sports.
Mm-hmm.
And so the point being, obviously they knew who Russ was. And some people are jerks, no matter what. And I'm saying across all walks of life. So even as you change schools, change teams, get drafted, whatever, transfer colleges, you might be a good player, but you might still be a jerk. People may not love. They might like that you're a good player, but they don't like. Well, we kind of have an idea of what Russ is about. He is certainly a bit enigmatic and is obviously an insane dresser, which I think it raises the bar for everybody in the league, but certainly here.
Absolutely.
But that you can tell that he's about the right things on the court.
Yeah.
And I think from afar, even playing against him, I'm not sure. And I'm not just singling out Jamal. I think a lot of people didn't necessarily know exactly what it's like to play with him. But he's also never had Joker. He did have LeBron, but they play the game differently. They see the game maybe the same, but they play it differently.
And everyone thought if LeBron can't make Russell Westbrook better, unlock Russ's potential, then Jokic can't. They are not the same player. They're not. I actually think there are ways that Nikola Jokic is better than LeBron James.
Yeah, and
sorry,
I think,
sorry, LeBron fanboys. Sorry to make you cry
I think
tonight.
LeBron might acknowledge it. Certainly with where LeBron even was 4 years ago when Russ got there, 3 years, whatever that is, compared to where Joker is now at 29.
Right. And
like had Russ been with LeBron, say instead of D Wade, they might have still very easily won the championship in Miami at the same time.
And again, that's not me downplaying who LeBron is. For God's sake, did you guys see the poster? This man's 40 years old. He looks like he's not a day over 21. No one's taking away his talent by giving credit to Nikola Jokic. But I do think there are things that Nikola Jokic does better than LeBron James. That does not mean, don't cry yourself to sleep tonight, fanboys. That does not mean I'm saying LeBron James is not a GOAT, that LeBron James is not one of the best to ever do it. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is there are advantages that I would give to Jokic over LeBron James.
The biggest thing is that stat about touches per game or whatever, where LeBron's usage rate is still really high, but Joker's is like he touches the ball 500 more times than any other
which is
including the guys
insane.
like James Harden that are going to pound the ball, or Luka, or players like that. Russ, when he was running OKC, they're going to have the ball. Melo, when he was here, when they're going to have the ball in their hands all the time. Is Joker has it, but then it's always moving. And Russ is also able to see the floor and see the game the way Joker does.
Mhm.
And I think Jamal is realizing that after being out there with him and Joker, and that has freed Jamal up to maybe be less in his head and more just
Well, and
play free.
when people were making that comparison, like if LeBron can't unlock Russ, then there's no way Nikola Jokic can. Did you know, BK, that right now, Jokic and Russell as a pair have the highest plus minus?
Anybody with Joker's going to be up there.
Okay, well,
In general-
LeBron still plays with AD.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
point
you're
is,
right. You're right.
that's one of those statistics or pieces of information that, in my opinion, supports the idea that there are things Jokic does better than LeBron. Again, there's also plenty of things LeBron James does better than Jokic. I think there's a fair amount of criticism you can throw to Jokic, especially from a defensive perspective. Offensively, I don't really have many critiques, hardly ever. I will say, overall as a whole, BK, one of the things I talked about on the post-game live show was the Nuggets right now are a bottom 5 team in free throw percentage. Those are free points, BK. I mean,
where are they in attempts? I mean, percentage hurts you, but where are they in attempts?
You want me to look it up?
Yeah, only because you want to make them.
Still, for God's sake, let's make our free throws.
That's not good. It's probably worth asking Michael Malone about tonight, because they have improved defensively. What's interesting?
Oh, second most attempts.
Okay, so the reason that's okay, it's not as much as if your percentage is terrible and you're not getting to the line.
Okay, but make them and imagine.
Yeah, I agree. You obviously, this is the NBA, and you've got some of the best shooters in the world taking them.
They're called free throws.
Well, it's not like DeAndre Jordan is the one taking all the free throws.
No, but when he does take free throws, I always know he's good
it's
for
certainly an adventure.
half of them.
But that's how Russ is too.
I'm sorry, at most is what I meant to say.
And so when you are getting to the line, your point about them being free is valid, but you're getting to so if you're what's the percentage
of their free throw percentage? Is their 76.9.
Okay, so 76 isn't 70. No. So even though it's not 80%, and this is the NBA, but 76% of the second most attempts is going to be more than other teams who might be shooting better, but they're in the bottom third getting to the line. So
because OKC has the highest free throw percentage at 82.8, and their attempts are the second fewest.
Right. So
I'm
the Nuggets are
point.
making more free throws, probably, because they're just getting to the line that much more.
Again, but in the past, I have heard plenty of Nuggets fans get frustrated with the fact that the Nuggets never get to the line. Now you are getting to the line,
you are.
Now you are getting to the line, so you need to make the free throws. You know what I mean? Like, I get what you're saying, that they do take more attempts. So for them to have a poor free throw percentage is fair compared to an OKC who has the second worst free throw attempts, but the best free throw percentage. I understand that. But I have heard many Nuggets fans expressing concern year after year that the Nuggets never make it to the line. They never get free throw calls. Well, they never get foul calls and get to the line. They are getting that now. So you got to take advantage of it. Being a bottom 5, you just never know what kind of a difference that could make in a game, in a close game, especially if you're making your free throws.
Here's what's fascinating about some of these Nuggets numbers, though, because their offensive efficiency is off
crazy.
The charts.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
And I just looked; they're still dead last in 3-pointers taken.
I talked about that on Wednesday or whatever day that.
Third, and these numbers are. I mean, these are negligible. Like, you're talking about your top 15, so 16 to the Milwaukee Bucks are 2, and I guess even Cleveland is between 36 and 39%.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of the same argument the other way. Other teams are going to take more and make more by taking more, even though they're going to miss.
Of course.
So the Nuggets are
the
slightly
Nuggets are efficient
better
when they shoot the 3-point from the 3-point line.
What's funny is because they haven't been blown out hardly at all. So they're going to be in close games against good teams.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a game where they're shooting above their average,
right?
So they're making whatever that number is, 13 of 30 or what versus making 9 of 30. That's usually the difference in the game.
Well,
but it also comes off just good offense and good defense that leads to good offense.
Yeah. Also, I will say it's not always a great thing to live and die by the three. And we know that is the way the game is trending. It's not always a positive thing. We've seen teams lose a playoff series because they live and die by the three and the threes aren't falling. Now, what makes the Nuggets so special offensively and why they don't need to live and die by the three is right now, the Nuggets are first in the league in assists. The reason that matters is I am willing to say, this is not a hot take. If you think it's a hot take, you just don't know basketball. This is the best passing team in the NBA. Between Jamal, Russell Westbrook, and Nikola Jokic, what they're able to do, the offensive opportunities they are able to create, they're playmakers. So they don't have to live and die by the three. They can find shots pretty much everywhere. Nikola Jokic's ability to read the floor and find offensive opportunities is unlike anything we've ever seen. So I don't think the Nuggets need to live and die by the three. Would I like to see them take more 3-pointers here and there? Yes, only there's certain players that I feel like could be really threatening to other teams in the playoffs. Just the other night, Aaron Gordon, who I used to be shaking in my boots when he would go for a 3-point shot. I hated when he would take that shot. He was a perfect 3 of 3 the other night. Julian Strawther, 5 of 9 off the bench. So as long as the Nuggets, and I think Coach Malone actually promotes that. If you've got your shot, take it. I mean, we know that. He's never, most of his post-game pressers that we've seen where Julian Strawther has had these little moments of kind of a breakthrough game. I would say his breakthrough game was the other. And I was very pleased with what Julian Strawther was able to do. So much of that is Coach Malone encouraging Julian Strawther to take the shot. I think that if we can start getting some of those bench guys in our second unit more comfortable from the 3-point line, Peyton Watson here and there will make some really timely threes. Julian Strawther is another one. And Aaron Gordon now coming off the bench. So it does make you wonder, what does the value of having Aaron Gordon as a part of that second unit bring to this Nuggets team? I think we're seeing it have value. And I actually talked after the last game on Tuesday night in the post-game live show that I made this as a total assumption. I said it would not surprise me, BK, if Aaron Gordon was selfless enough to say to the team and or to Coach Malone, I am fine not being a starter if it means we win. Not even 2 minutes later, we are running Coach Malone's post-game presser, and he said exactly that. And again,
and then we asked Aaron Gordon about it. Our sound is being a little wonky, unfortunately, but that was the very first thing I asked him. This
I love
was
that.
an hour after the game was over, give or take, and AG. And I do want to get a little deeper on some of the stuff that he said too. But about this specifically, right off the top, I asked him, and he's like, "I'll do whatever the team needs." And I told Coach that, and he is comfortable in his skin, if you will. He's on a new deal. Aaron Gordon's made more money than he'll ever need, but he just wants to win. And so he was never a guy that got out of the locker room fast anyway. So this is where I'm going to make a bit of a right turn, because as he was going through his comments, and you can watch him on our YouTube page because I know they're up there, and the sound works on that. We're just having technical issues here, but he talks about the basketball court, like the hardest part about the calf injury. He said basketball is a sanctuary. And I think it's bigger than just the court. Like, obviously playing is part of it.
Of course.
But so many times, if you go to Nuggets games in the past, you would see after the game, you'd see Aaron's brother. He's easy to spot. They aren't twins, but you're like, that's Aaron Gordon's brother. They're both 6'8", 6'10",
yeah.
You know, same dreads, same skin tone, lots of tattoo, whatever. You're like, that's Aaron Gordon's brother without anybody even having to tell you. And so his brother Drew, who died tragically in a car accident, I want to say they lived somewhere on the West Coast. The accident was in Portland. So I
believe it was Oregon.
I don't know if they lived in Oregon, but they didn't live here. Nonetheless, his brother Drew was here all the time. And so I'm not saying that sped up his post-game routine, but he got out when he got out. And now it'd probably be interesting, and I don't know if anybody would even divulge this, so you'd have to be monitoring it. Is he taking even longer? Because whether it's in the practice court from the time you got to get there, is he the first one in now, I wonder, to when they leave practice and or when they're leaving games?
Yep.
Because this is his refuge, and it reminds him, I'm sure when he's sitting at his locker, he is thinking about, oh, I'd love to be talking to my brother about this game, or go out to dinner with him and talk about what went awesome, what could we have done differently. Because his brother did play basketball forever, played overseas, played in the league. One other cool thing, I don't know if people notice this or not, but when they come out of the tunnel, Mike, who owns Mike Stadium Sports Cards, who's one of the security guys, he had a jersey made from when his brother was on the Sixers and has it hanging up, you know, at Aaron's permission. I thought this would be cool to hang up. And Aaron said he loves it. So AG sees his brother's jersey when he runs in and out of the tunnel.
Oh.
And so I think that's more sincere than any, like Christian Brown will say that, but then he'll probably be a little bummed because he's, become a starter. If you were to bench Jamal Murray, who knows how that MPJ would take it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're like, hey, you're going to come off the bench, you're going to be our top scorer and AG is going to start. But AG is perfectly wired at this point in his career with all the money he's made, having won the championship, understanding that he is the Swiss Army knife, which is what coach called him. And I think that he truly means it when it's like, oh, because he will finish the game 9 times out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
But that when it comes to starting, he doesn't care if he's out there to tip it off first because he knows he's essentially the captain of the second unit, especially with the way Russ and Jamal rotate through it, that the second unit is truly his, whereas the first unit is 100% Jokers.
Right.
And then you've also got
there's
Russ,
no mistaking that.
Russ and Jamal.
Yeah.
So
I think just one of the things that I don't think people talk about enough or acknowledge enough is just how important a culture is to winning a championship. You have to have selfless players. You have to have players that don't have an ego and they care more about the we than the me. And I think there's a lot of players on this team that are like that. I would say, based on just reading the public opinion and seeing how people feel, most people would say that the most selfish player on the Nuggets typically is Jamal. Now, naturally, as a point guard, I think you have a little bit more of a selfish basketball approach because you are facilitating the offense. The ball is in your hands quite a bit. What makes it unique is that we have a center who's the best player in the world, who also touches the ball more than anybody in the league. So you kind of have this interesting dynamic with the Denver Nuggets where you've got Nikola Jokic who can play what appears to be every position on the floor. You've got Jamal Murray who's facilitating the offense, but now you've got Russell Westbrook in the mix. And so I think what we're starting to see, and BK mentioned this at the top of the show, that Russell Westbrook has truly come on this team and made everybody's lives easier, the same way Jokic does for everybody on this team. So it's finally being reciprocated to Jokic, not to say that his teammates don't ever help him out. I just mean that is literally the way Russell Westbrook plays. He has no ego. He's very selfless, and it is his job and his role to just be where he needs to be at the right time to make sure everybody is playing their best basketball. And I love and appreciate that about him. I will say also with Jamal Murray, we have started to see in this season him playing more selfless basketball. Do I think that's a result of Russell Westbrook being there? I absolutely do. But do I also think that there's a lot of leaders on this team that we don't necessarily talk about, like an Aaron Gordon, who's willing to be a bench player right now and run that second unit and not a starter because he may know that it's really great for this team right now. There's a lot of different things that you can be very excited about when it comes to the leaders that this Nuggets team has, but I think that is what's going to set them apart from a lot of the teams that they're going to face in the playoffs. They have that continuity. They have that overall understanding. Each one of them understands that this is a team sport and you're only as strong as your weakest player. Truly, that is how you have to think about this game. Yes, it's a star-driven league, but how important are bench guys in the playoffs? I mean, that usually is the difference maker between two really high-level teams is which bench outscored the other. It does matter. Every player matters. And so I think even to have a DeAndre Jordan, I always make this joke, BK, you've been to plenty of Nuggets games. I actually took my mom to a Nuggets game. FanDuel sent me for work and I took her with me. And she's sitting there and she's like, have you ever noticed DeAndre Jordan the entire game he's got to be the warmest person in the building because he's got a resistance band on. He's running suicides. He's stretching. But not only that, he's hyping up everybody. He's coaching. He's pulling people aside. And I'm telling you, you guys, it is from start to finish. It's not just after a dunk. It's not just after a triple-double by Jokic. He is constantly cheering on his team. And he's also staying ready just in case it's his turn and he needs to go in there and make an impact. Now, offensively, do I trust DeAndre Jordan with my life? I don't. Do I think he puts his body in really great positions to rebound really well? And that absolutely is crucial for the Nuggets. Of course. I love DJ. He, to me, is kind of like another Uncle Jeff, just that presence.
That's exactly who he is. And
it's amazing.
He and Russell Westbrook are both making about $3 million. And it's completely worth it. All the other assistant coaches, I don't know their exact salary, but let's just pretend it's between 200 and 800 grand, depending on who you are on the bench closest to Michael Malone. He's worth every bit of the 3.3 million, not just because of what'll get you the handful of games that he'll play in a given month and in the playoffs, but that he is constantly in everybody's ear. And crafts a different relationship, I think, with different guys. So he's not going to talk to Joker. I mean, Joker doesn't need a lot from DeAndre, but if he talks to Joker, it's going to be about something he sees defensively.
Yeah.
If he talks to
all of them,
Julian Strawther and Peyton Watson, it's about their confidence. It's about how to attack this.
Take a shot.
Yeah. And Marcus Camby actually was at the game the other night, and they showed him on the screen, and I saw Chris Dempsey talking to him in the tunnel and was just kind of listening. So you'll probably see that on altitude tonight if you're watching the game. But I was just, not eavesdropping. I was waiting for the interview to be done.
Because like this.
But I was just listening to Marcus talk to Demps, and Marcus and DeAndre have a relationship from being in the league and being teammates with the Clippers. And then I think Marcus makes his home in Houston. And I know obviously DeAndre's from that area too. And he said that I heard him use this. And I thought it was an interesting way to describe it, but I've never been a center shot blocker except in, when we lower the goals at the Jewish Community Center to 8 feet and are just goofing around like we did back in high school. But I never lined up at center.
If you can
believe it or not, at 5'8", I was never the big man that, even though I had really good ability to block out and block shots.
It's okay. These cameras, they just make him look like he's not super tall.
Yeah,
he is very, very tall in real
I'm
life.
super tall. These chairs are 7 feet off the ground. But so I heard Marcus describe this, and I just hadn't thought about it again because I've never, you think about that.
Yeah.
That free safety, if you will, or that the way Rudy Gobert plays, and Marcus Camby certainly has blocked a million shots. DeAndre Jordan right there. He said, it's kind of like the quarterback reading the defense. And so even though you're not reading the defense, you're reading the offense.
Yeah.
And you're captaining your defense, saying this is how they're going to attack us. So it is, in some ways, if you're going to make the football analogy, like a free safety. But Marcus described it as a quarterback, meaning that you have to diagnose everything that everybody's going to do. So, it's offense versus defense. But so DeAndre Jordan certainly has that. He's been one of the best shot blockers in the league and still sees the game that way, even if he's on the bench most of the time. But that is also, I think, probably part of the time why you do see him standing on the baseline and blocking people's seats. He was standing in front of Orlando Franklin the other night, who was sitting with his feet on the hardwood, and his buddy. And it's like, yeah, it is funny, the different vets and that they make the whole bench area. There's the whole baseline. And so DeAndre is as valuable. I mean, it's crazy to look down and see that Russell Westbrook is also only making $3.3 million.
I was just going to ask you, if Russ is huge in, again, we don't know how many more years Russell Westbrook is going to play. I'm not going to
shorten it.
And me either. I would like to think it's, and I mean, I don't, let me put it this way. I don't see an end near, if that's what my gut is telling. I mean, he's just playing at such a high level. There's no denying what he's doing. Let's say Russell Westbrook helps the Denver Nuggets win a ring. $3 million does not feel nearly like enough money. But don't you love and respect that he is humble enough to play at the level he's playing and make $3 million? He just doesn't have diva mentality at all. And he really could if you look at his career. Couldn't he be a raging diva? Couldn't he be a little like, I'm too good for this, I want that? I mean, there's so much to love about Russell Westbrook. I don't know why he has such loud haters.
It is worth noting, prior to this year, now he's played 16 seasons. How much money do you think Russell Westbrook has made on the court, not counting endorsement deals? I don't know. He's not
probably a lot.
He's not the pitch man that LeBron is, I guess.
Right.
Or KD at times or whatever.
Probably a lot. What's the number?
Just give me a guess.
In his 16 years,
career. Not counting the $3 million this year. I could do the math and add that, but that's pretty easy. But prior to this year, where he signed a 1-year, $3 million deal.
200 million?
Yeah, close. $345 million.
Not close. It's a lot, actually.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah. So, when you look at it like that. But again, he, to me, is still in, I'm not saying this is his prime, but if he is that crucial alongside Nikola Jokic at helping win another ring, I mean, to me, your value goes up.
It does here.
Yes.
Okay. But they are going to have to pay Christian Brown if they make any other moves. By Aaron Gordon's new deal, I was told the other night that they're now going to be into the second apron. It is easy to spend Stan and Josh Kroenke's money, but the penalties that you're going to pay with those aprons, and I don't know exactly what they are, but let's just call them tens of millions of dollars, 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, whatever it is, 50 million. And we saw where the Warriors were happy to pay it because they got that fourth ring. I guarantee if you ask Josh and Stan, now they're pretty fiscally responsible. Forever they've wanted to underpay coaches and underpay execs to put the money on the court. So this is putting the money on the court. If you ask them, is it worth it for that extra 10, 20, 30, 50, whatever that number is, to ensure that you're putting the best possible roster around Nikola Jokic? You'd have to say it's worth it because they've owned the team since 2000. And you know how happy they were to finally get their basketball ring. They're both basketball guys. Stan is was a basketball player, basketball fan. Josh played college basketball. Like, they love winning hockey. They love winning soccer. They love winning a Super Bowl. But they are basketball people through and through. Sort of the way Jerry Jones could be the GM, is the GM of the Cowboys and thinks of himself
could be
as a football guy because he played college football. He's a football guy. The Cronkies are basketball guys first. And so, and I haven't seen Josh in a while, but, you know, it is worth asking whether on the record or off the record. I got to think in an honest moment, they would tell you, yeah, it is worth it to jump into potentially that third apron. I just don't know if you're going to need to do that with Russ, especially when you explain to him, hey, in order for us to pay CB, so keep paying you $3 million or whatever it may be. And
especially if he does know that maybe his career is on the tail end.
But like when you want to play at the, so let's just pick a team, Charlotte, right? Okay. Say Charlotte said, hey, Russ, we're going to give you a 3 or $30 million deal. Like Russ's life. And I go back to something Draymond Green said years ago. This is, I think, before Kevin Durant even got there. This is how long ago it was. But he signed his, whatever it was, is like first big deal or into his another big deal. And he took a little less money. And they said, why'd you take less money? He goes, because if I take less money, we can add another player. And if I take more money, it's not going to change the street that I live on or the cars that I drive or how my kids are taken care of. But if we can bring in another player, which turned out to be Kevin Durant, and we can win more rings, that will change my life. So for Russell Westbrook to know that at the end of his career, he's going to get to play with Joker and that Joker's enjoying playing with him, I wouldn't be surprised if his next deal is 2 years, 10 million. You know, it's nothing crazy. And once you're on the roster,
it's just enough to keep him here.
Yeah,
and
that it's like it's respectful.
Also still support the rest of the team.
It's respectful, but it's not.
I mean, Coach Malone has made it very clear he has no ego. He's a very selfless guy. He's all about the team. So I could see a very similar response from Russell Westbrook that we got from Draymond Green at that time. I would love it. I would love nothing more. It just is very interesting. Yes, you look at Russell Westbrook's career as a whole and you look at how much money he's made, and he has been very well taken care of.
345 with 7
345
teams.
is
well, now add another 8 this year.
Insane.
Or I mean another 3.5.
So he's definitely been taken care of, but you also just look at his
that's
contract.
Before taxes.
It is. That's true. That is true.
He did play in California for a couple of years.
Right. But you do look at what he's making compared to other players in the league and the impact he currently has on his team. And I think that's all you need to know about Russell Westbrook. Truly. I mean, he's just, well, and he's great.
You see the joy that he plays with. And so as long as his body allows him, and this is a guy that's been more durable than most over an entire career, but especially one that's this long, then you would expect that he does want to come play a couple more. And look, they just built a house because you remember we were there talking to him, I think it was before the opening game, and he's talking to us at shoot around about like setting up the house.
Yeah.
Because his wife and kids are still in California. And I understand, like earlier, I joked about Shelby Harris and his kids are talked about them changing schools. Obviously they can go back to LA, but the way the school year breaks down, basketball covers all of it. And if they're going to make a deep run into the playoffs, which you hope they will, that he is going to make Denver home for at least a couple of years.
I would love that.
And so it's going to be fascinating to see how that plays out, how they handle CB. Do they go stay in the second apron, get into the third apron? They have $5 million in second apron space for this year. Here, I can jump ahead to next year, thanks to our friends at Spotrac. They have $7 million in second apron space next year. So even but that's without Christian Brown's. Oh, he's got 1 year left at his rookie deal. So you could use up a lot of that $7 million on Russ if you wanted to pay him more.
Yep.
But you could also figure out a way to work in another vet, a Bruce Brown type, a Jeff Green. And I mean, Jeff's probably not the best example at this point. But it all goes back to what Russ has really meant to this team. And also the credit that goes to Nikola Jokic, because Joker was the one that we heard was ringing the bell for Russ. And a lot of us didn't really understand it. They're like, okay, a little more stability on the second unit versus
proves how freaking smart of a basketball player Nikola Jokic is.
He understood how Russ saw the game.
Everything. He sees it through a different lens. I mean, he really, really does. Okay, well, we do have a game tonight. and you will be getting a post-game live reaction show from myself.
And maybe I'll even check in.
There we go. BK might check in and hang out with us for a
I'd
little
love
bit,
to.
but we will have you guys covered on all things Denver Nuggets. They're playing at home tonight against the Sacramento Kings. Right now, in most books, the Nuggets are about an 8.5-point favorite. I think rightfully so. We're watching them build a lot of momentum and build some steam in the right direction and form good habits. As far as I know, there are no notable. Okay, Deron Holmes, he's injured. You guys know this. Besides that, there are not any notable injuries to the starters for either team. So we're getting both teams
Full strength.
at full strength. And we know the Nuggets just had a very convincing win. We got to rest Nikola Jokic in the fourth quarter.
We didn't even get into that. 4 times in 4 games. 4 straight games, not counting the Houston game where his elbow was bothering him. 4 games. So it's the Mavs game, the 2 games in Florida, and then this game the other night. Triple-double through 3 quarters and no fourth quarter. And that is one of the things that I asked Joker about that, again, you can go check out on our YouTube page, but we couldn't make it work this time. Apologies. He said it's only 8 minutes. But
they're valuable.
But then I asked AG the same thing. I asked Jamal, I guess it was in there, Straw, their CB. It is valuable because you quantify that. One, it just is less whatever, wear and tear. It also is giving him more rest and less minutes, game over game over game. And there's a relief too. Like your stress level is, we can do anyone that's felt like their team had a game in hand, and oftentimes the Nuggets over the last few years have. It does, like, there has to be something to be said for your stress levels going down and your whatever it is, oxytocin in your brain going down. Like, we've got this in hand. And so I think that it's in some ways unquantifiable, but huge.
Yep. Because
they're playing well, and it's giving the bench guys just more minutes, and not just the bench guys who play a lot, but Jalen Pickett, you saw Hunter Tyson throw an alley-oop to his college roommate, PJ Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how fun is that? Like, when you're having fun and you're winning's fun. And so the Kings come in and they've won 3 in a row. They've won 9 of their last 10. I'm not in a hurry to.
Here's what I'm going to say. They also recently beat the Rockets. So
I'm not in a hurry to jump all over the 8. There's some props. There's some props I'd look at potentially.
For sure. I think that this is going to be. I'm looking right now at what the Kings have been able to do over their last few games.
But I mean, they beat the Celtics in Boston.
Beat the
Grizzlies
Rockets
at home in a shootout.
I mean, just beat Golden State. I mean, there's a lot. Beat Memphis. They are not a team that you look at that 8.5-point spread and go, we're good. No, this is going to be a true test. More than the offense, I think that this Nuggets team, of course, can hang offensively with anyone in the league. I believe that is truly how I feel. Defense is going to be what we really look at tonight for this Denver Nuggets team. I've said many times the month of January is so important for them to solidify their identity. Tonight, we need to see their defensive identity shining. We've seen so many great flashes defensively from this Nuggets team in comparison to how we saw them start their season. So, I mean, 123, 123, 132, 115, 124, 114, 123, 129, 138. That's the offense that this Kings team has right now. And they have only lost 1 game in the last 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They are 10-1 in their last 11. So this is not a team that I definitely feel super overly confident going head to head against, but we have seen this Nuggets team finding some rhythm and some groove, and this is going to be one of those games that is very important for them to continue practicing those good habits that they're forming. So what's your prediction for tonight, BK?
I think the Nuggets win, but I'm not sure they cover. I
agree with that.
The Kings have been playing well, and I don't know how it slipped my brain, but DeMar DeRozan's been playing really well of late. And so I wonder, and maybe we'll get a chance to talk to either he or Russ, but they're both SoCal guys, are about a year apart. Like, what is their basketball overlap? Now, one's UCLA, one's USC, all that. And Russ isn't from, like, I mean, DeMar's from Compton and like grew up in Compton. And I think Russ grew up a little further south and east. But you got to think that they've been playing basketball with and against each other probably their whole lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so if Russ ends up on DeMar, like, and vice versa, how many times has that matchup happened in their lives is probably worth talking about and fun to potentially see.
Agreed. Okay. Well, this has been another Guerrilla Sports.
Hang on, this is interesting.
What?
'Cause I was Googling DeMar DeRozan, Russell Westbrook. That's something. The third thing people Google under that, or second thing, DeMar DeRozan, Russell Westbrook, Kendrick Lamar. Well, now I'm intrigued. Oh, they danced on stage with Kendrick Lamar in June. So that's how good of friends they are.
There you go.
Yeah, they were.
Well, you're
nice
not
enough
friends
to-
tonight.
No.
You're enemies. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Well, we're
Jamal
excited.
Crawford also was.
I will
on stage.
have you guys covered from a post-game live reaction standpoint tonight following the Denver Nuggets game. We'll have some post-game pressers we can feed you through the show as well. And if BK's not waiting for forever for players or whatever, we'll hopefully have him jump on. But if not, of course, we'll keep you covered. I'll have him maybe text me his thoughts and we'll read some of his texts aloud if he can't hop on with me. But expect about an hour of a post-game live reaction show. We'll just be sitting, chatting, having a really good time. You guys are always very loyal in terms of tuning in no matter how late the night gets. So thank you so much for that. We'll have you covered tonight on all things Guerrilla Sports socials. Make sure you give us a follow. Twitter, X, my bad. Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube so you can see those full long form post-game pressers as well as our shows if you missed them. So thank you so much. I'm Liv Moods. That's Brandon Krisztal. This has been another Guerrilla Sports Off Court presented by Trusted American Mortgage. You can scan this QR code above my head, or if you're listening, go to trustedamerican.com to see how they can help you save some money by either lowering your interest rate, getting you a better monthly payment, or both. So head to trustedamerican.com or scan this QR code, and we will see you tonight following the Kings on the road taking on the Denver Nuggets. See ya.